Hi, guys, welcome to our YouTube channel where five grown men are going to talk about football and we have no other job. We have Jervis, United fan, been in therapy since 2013, and being in therapy is very sad and alone. So, Gaurav Jane, another United fan. Then we got Vinino. Vinino, or is it Vinino, bro? Vineeth.
Vinilio, let's go.
Okay, Vineeth, he's a Real Madrid fan. Hala Madrid,
The best
no
of the
cups
best.
since 2 years, thanks to Hansi
Yeah,
Flick. And we
yeah.
got Ruben, another Real Madrid fan. So I'm the only one isolated out, guys, Barcelona fan. And it's going to be
The
hard
black
for me
sheep.
in this podcast. But I think I'm the only one with cups in the last 2 years. Let's go.
That's
Bruh.
all right.
Okay, I
That
see.
was
I
good.
see.
Fair
All
play,
right,
fair
all
play to
right,
the
all
DM,
right,
bro.
all right, all right, all right, all right. So last week Champions League was crazy, right? So football
Yep.
fans all over the world just stopped and were watching Paris Saint-Germain take over Bayern Munich in Parc des Princes. And what do you guys think about the game? 5-4, a win, narrow one goal lead. Gaurav, what do you think about the game?
I thought it was very good, actually. It was a good exhibition match. If you were trying to introduce someone to football for the first time,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think that was a perfect game.
Yeah.
That
Wow,
would
well said.
really make them a fan of the sport in general, I would say. It was a good exhibition, a good display of attacking football when you have that much creative attacking talent on the pitch for both managers to say, you know what, we're not going to do any risk management. We're not going to be sitting back and look at marginal gains. No, we have some of the best forward players in the game in our teams. Let's go for it. So I thought it was a very good game, very end to end. Overall, I think for me, I think Paris Saint-Germain just edged it a little bit, and they have a one-goal lead to show for it. But I do think that Bayern also showed a lot of strong mentality to stay in it and not crumble because they were down 5-2 at a certain point and they still managed to get 2 goals back at the end and keep the game alive. So I'm very much looking forward to see how the second leg turns out, and I'm glad that it's actually going to be one of them in the final because I think
Ooh,
this
yeah.
one of these two teams deserves to win the final. Yep.
Ruben, do you think Paris really edged Bayern, or was it just equal to having a draw the first leg?
No, I think it was. I think they edged it because I think Bayern is sort of in a way lucky to have just a one goal deficit because, like Johnny said, at one point it was 5-2, and they could have easily been 6-2 at one point in time, but they pulled it back with those two quick goals, and that just and then the game sort of like teetered out towards the last sort of 15-20 minutes. But those first sort of 70-75 minutes were just end to end. And I thought the Madrid Bayern game was probably one of the best games of the season, and then this game just took over and easily the best game of the Champions League we've had so far. So
We need, as a Madrid fan, when you're watching these teams go, against each other end to end, and you've been there all those years, and your team's actually been the boss of actually, creating Champions League nights like these. And now the whole world is talking about Paris and, you know, uh, Bayern doing all this. What do you think? What's your stand about football? Has it changed from what Madrid used to do? Are they doing it something different?
Yeah, I think it was a very charismatic football, as I can say. Both teams had a lot of structure, a lot of character on the pitch. Like they didn't hold back.
Right.
Otherwise, uh, I think 99% of the teams just fold after a 5-2
Yeah,
situation. But
absolutely.
then when I was watching the game, I was like, okay, 5-2, that's it, it's done, it's over. PSG in the finals, there
yeah,
you go, right? But little did I know that they would come back and come back how, complete box to box passing, the assist from Kane. I mean, who expected that, right? It was
Oh,
uncalled for,
yeah.
but it was crazy. It was a worldie, right? And then the goals coming through, making it 5-4, making it again very close and marginal, and making it easier for Bayern as well. So I'm very excited, and I think it's a good time to pass the torch for a couple of years until we come back. I think we have to accept that Real Madrid is in a tough situation in terms of getting the players onboarded with the same mentality as before.
Yeah.
and there's been a lot of rotation. So I think it's good to pass the torch for a couple of years, and then we'll come back,
Jervis,
hopefully,
you've been seeing
inshallah.
football for the longest. Like out of my friends, you've been watching football for the
Yeah,
longest, probably. And
Says who? Says who? Wait, one
putting me
second.
on
I'm
the
sorry.
spot here, bro.
Who says this? He
wait.
has watched the longest.
Relax. We need to relax. So
Just kidding.
I want to get an opinion from you. You've watched the Ronaldo and the Rooney, Manchester United, counter attacking Premier League football. Has football changed? Is it Bayern and PSG now? What do you think?
That's a very good question. I'll come back to that. So, on the whole game, I think I had a pretty neutral view.
Yeah,
I think what we saw basically was two top teams in Europe right now just
Yeah.
going at it at maximum
Yep.
intensity.
yeah,
And we talked about, was it a case of maybe just bad defending? Partly, but I also think it was a bit of an oversimplification. So I was looking at what Company said after the game, and he said that they basically were vulnerable throughout the game and they didn't
right,
defend well enough. Even Simeone, before like their own Atleti Arsenal game, said that uh, games like these are like basically a coach's nightmare. And he's not wrong. Like 9 games
Yeah.
in a semi-final, I think that basically points to like a structural breakdown, right? That's why we saw like a lot of like defenders being isolated, like 1v1s, 3v3s, because of like the high man-to-man pressing approach that Bayern kind of employs. You also saw like huge spaces in transition. But again, I think that's just because of how both teams chose to play. It was basically just like a tactical collision, if you want to call it that, right?
Mhm.
Like you saw in the Madrid game as well, like when they played, when Bayern played Madrid, they employ this very aggressive man-to-man pressing across the pitch. And then you've got PSG who are more like transition focused and kind of like focused on exploiting those areas behind that press. And that basically created this sort of like, these constant duels in the middle of the pitch, constant turnovers in possession, almost no time on the ball. And in games like that is basically where like individual brilliance like kind of shines through, which is why you saw guys like, Kvaratskhelia, Due, Olise and Diaz like basically ball out that game. So is that approach maybe saving football, or is it like a callback to maybe what football used to be? I don't know. I think it's also because in a way maybe us like as fans we've become kind of fed up of these like low risk like possession based systems that this game kind of felt like a callback to like football games from like the late 2000s or like the mid 2010s. But then on the other end of the spectrum, that's exactly why teams like Atletico and maybe Arsenal exist, because there's also like a pragmatic approach that you kind of need to take in like these kind of knockout games. So I would argue both really. I mean, like maybe in knockout games and maybe over a season, I think taking a pragmatic approach is probably still more stable and more sustainable. But that being said, like we still got an entertaining game out of like just two tactical systems going at it essentially.
okay. I want to add something. All right, and I want you
Mhm.
guys to tell me what you feel about this.
Mhm.
Since that is Barcelona, left or moved away from Xavi because of some comments or whatever, we got in Hansi Flick, and we've got really good football. Last year, when Barcelona were defending badly, right, had a high line, that was a big problem. And we lost, of course, we lost to Inter Milan 4-3. I mean, that night was crazy. It was like ups and downs for me, and I was like up all night watching the game. Wasn't that beautiful football? Or is it just that Inter Milan never were that attacking, and then we made them look that good because we had bad defending? Or is it that PSG and Bayern has a more of a neutral fan structure to watch that game compared to people seeing Barcelona, because Barcelona always have you know maybe a little bit of hate, I would say. Was there more neutral
I
fans
don't think
watching
so.
this
I think it was
game?
very it could be very similar to this game because like with the kind of high line approach that Barcelona play, I think you could argue like you're basically trying to win possession up the pitch really quickly and focus on like
Yeah.
Yeah,
creating chances very
yeah,
quickly, right?
yeah.
But at the same time, I think when that backfires, then you also leave so much space in behind, which is basically what Inter Milan exploited. And that brings me back to my point is that basically both teams just kind of chose to embrace that chaos. So I guess you get like a mix of both. You get games like that in the knockout stage, but you also get your Atletico Madrid type of like deadlocks where it
Yeah.
basically goes into like extra time and like a shootout, and like it's
Yeah.
more about, I think, managing the risk in the game than actually like, yeah,
Right.
getting into like a
Gaurav,
gunslinging kind of, yeah.
Gaurav, what do you think? Like second leg, are
I
you expecting
think
the same, or
I'm
what?
expecting the
What's the
same.
second leg?
I think I'm expecting more of the same. I do believe that Bayern are gonna come out with a lot more intensity because they want to prove a point. That's also what Company said after the match, that he's like, "We're waiting for you at the Allianz Arena. We want you to come." And he said that any Bayern fan who feels a little bit sick should give the ticket to someone who
Yeah,
feels
yeah,
fully
yeah.
fit, because we need every
Absolutely.
single person from that 70,000 stadium to
Yeah,
get behind the team.
yeah.
I do think it's going to be more of the same. We might see less goals overall, I think, just because there's going to be a little bit of I think, a cautious approach that you might start to see once one team takes the lead and starts to
Right.
feel like, okay, we are starting to secure that spot in the final, so maybe we can
Yeah,
start to
yeah.
just be a little bit more calm and
Compact.
calm and just get compact and just settle things down. So we might not see as many goals, but I think it might be more of the same. I do also just want to come back to that Inter Milan and Barcelona thing that you were
Yeah,
bringing up.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think why maybe people felt that Barcelona and Inter Milan game had a different kind of narrative to it was because I think on paper, when you look at it, many people expected Barcelona to win, right?
Yeah, true,
Inter
true,
Milan were the underdogs.
true.
So given the attacking prowess, the overall quality of the Barcelona team, everyone expected them to win. And when they didn't, of course, it generates a lot of views, it generates a lot of
Yeah,
news in the
absolutely.
negative sense.
True.
But I think that it was by no means, in my opinion at least, a telling sign that your highline was the issue in that game, or it was a player's error or mistake here and there. I
Mm,
think overall, if let's say in that game you happen to play a PSG or a Bayern, maybe the game could have turned out very different, and it could have turned
mm,
out in your favor. I think just in that moment there was a lot
mm.
of luck also not going in your favor. So I
Right,
do think that with the approach that teams take, that Luis Enrique, Vincent Kompany, and Hansi Flick set up, the
right,
way they approach football in general goes with
right,
this philosophy that we want to dominate the ball and dominate the ball in the attacking third,
right,
essentially. And to do that, they basically bring in the best attacking players that they can. And
right.
to play that kind of football, they do what is necessary. And if it means sometimes, like Jervis said, you have to embrace the chaos, then they embrace the chaos. And then it just becomes a tactical battle between who comes out on top and who has the most periods of dominance in the game at the end of the day. Yeah.
Um, Comparing both the games before we discuss Atletico and Arsenal game, comparing both the games, I saw a stat that Atletico and Arsenal game had more shots on target in comparison
That can't be
to
right. That
No.
can't
PSG
be true.
versus Bayern. Apparently, it was. Apparently, it is.
Well, did they count? Did they count raining shots that they were taking in warm-ups?
Yeah.
I can't believe that. That can't be true. That
Hold up.
Arsenal had more shots.
Hold up. I gotta look this up. There's no
Bro,
way.
check this out. Because I'll be a on me if I fuck up.
But what I will, since while you're checking that, Ruben, what I do want to say is also the thing that Jervis mentioned earlier, that PSG play a sort of rotational, transitional style of football where their players are so interchangeable. Just look at
True.
the first goal that Kvaratskhelia scored, for
Yeah.
instance. You have,
Absolutely.
I don't know who it was on the right who crossed the ball in. Was it Hakimi who crossed the ball in?
I think it was
And you
Doué.
had,
Wasn't
Doué.
it Doué? I think it was
was
Doué.
it Doué? And you had
Yeah.
Dembele and Zaire Emery in the box who both
They,
jumped. They didn't try and take a shot
yeah, they
because
didn't.
they knew Kvaratskhelia was going to be back there to
Yeah,
smash that
Yeah.
in.
true. I
Who
saw
does
that.
that? I
Who
mean,
does
they
Yeah.
that?
must
True.
have telepathic connection
Yeah.
that
True.
for both attacking players in that situation to be like, I don't want to put my foot on that.
Has to be
I mean,
Luis
that's just
Enrique. Has to be Luis Enrique.
that's what I mean. So I think there's a level of understanding in Luis Enrique's teams where they really are connected on another level.
Yeah.
Whereas on the other hand, with Bayern, it's this man-to-man press that you see, which in the game, as we saw, created situations where you had Upamecano going all the way into the attacking third, chasing a Kvaratskhelia or a Desiree Doué. they just embrace that. They don't go for the system where like, oh no, our backline needs to be maintaining the shape, our midfield three needs to be maintaining the shape. They're like, no, we follow this philosophy to the T, which if it means that Upamecano is going to get dragged all the way out of the pitch,
Yep.
that the fullback is going to be all the way marking the attacker in the other end of the pitch. That's the approach they take. So I think it's a little bit of a tactical collision of both teams, and both teams essentially saying, no, we're going to stick by these principles. We're not
Yep.
going to try and limit ourselves.
You know what? I was also telling Vishnu the other day, like you kind of got like a semblance of that in the Madrid game also, like the second leg where, I mean, Bayern kind of tried to press high and Madrid were able to kind of get some early success and they managed to like score goals. And I think just on another night, had they been as efficient and maybe if their players were on the same kind of form and quality that PSG's front three are this season, I think it could have gone a totally different way. It could have gone Madrid's way as well. PSG just executed really well on the night against Bayern. So I think those 5 goals are just about enough to get them over the line in the end.
Which is why I kind of said, I think for me, PSG just edged it because the only way to be able to like pragmatically assess the game, you would be like, in principle, on paper, which team dominated the other better in the periods of the other team's weakness or low form. So let's say when Bayern were having their off-key moments in the game and when PSG were having their off-key moments in the game.
Right.
I think when Bayern were having the off-key moments in the game, PSG were able to dominate and essentially get to a 5 lead. Whereas on the other hand, when PSG have the off-key moments, Bayern still had to, I think, work really hard to get their goals. And in the overall sense, I think it took Bayern, I think, a little bit more effort and a little bit more of an intense, persistent pressure against the PSG backline to get that goal, which they did eventually, which also I think is a good thing. But I think if it continues the same way, if we see more of the same, I do feel PSG will go through.
I actually think Bayern might come out on top. Just also, I think playing them at home, just I feel like 1 goal in a knockout game is not a big deficit to overturn. I feel like it could go their way.
I think I agree with Jovis. I think Bayern in what's the stadium name? Alliance? Mia San Mia. What is Mia San Mia?
I don't know actually. Mia San Mia. No idea.
Is that like their chant or something? Anyways, I just feel like Bayern at home. I think PSG are gonna be downed 3-1 or something like that.
I wouldn't go for a prediction, but also I'm not gonna outright say that it will be Bayern's game because to be fair, in that second leg against Liverpool, they didn't really have a big lead to defend. But they just kind of absorbed that pressure really well, PSG.
The second half.
And they defended really well in moments when they had to. So and Emery, like credit to not Emery, Enrique has like turned them into like this team that's capable of being pressed and like the ability to play out from those situations is amazing. And they were able to hold on and like get the result against Liverpool. So it could also, I could see it maybe going their way, but I just think Bayern still have better attacking threat and better quality this season that they could maybe it could also just go in their favor. So I think it's going to be a great game either way.
Should we try for predicting Arsenal versus Atletico, or what? Are we just not going to do that?
We'll be gaming that night, so I don't think we'll be watching the game that night. So.
Yeah, me and Joe were gaming first leg when they were playing.
There's anyway going to be some Prem game or some championship game. I think I'd rather watch.
You could be doing anything. It's a game people want to watch. That's Bayern PSG, and games no one cares about. Atletico Arsenal.
The most funniest recent interview was Pep Guardiola was asked. You saw the PSG versus Bayern game.
I saw that. Yeah.
He was watching a championship or a premiership game or something.
He was watching like Stockport versus like some other team in League One or League Two of the English.
And he was like, PSG versus Bayern, very boring, very boring. He was like,
shit
manager, bad manager, bad players. You better love him though. He's hilarious.
He knows how to play the media. He knows how to play that media.
Yeah.
But Ruben, who do you got in the return leg?
I still have a feeling PSG. I should. I feel like if they score early enough, I feel like I feel like they're good enough to hold out. I think that's what's going to come down to. Like if Bayern get an early goal, then I still feel like it'll open
Hmm.
up. But I feel like if PSG
Mm.
get that early goal and they have a 2-goal lead,
They can hold on.
I think they can hold on.
Hmm.
Enrique's
All
got
this
them
to
built
say,
well
I
enough.
mean, all of us basically acknowledge that this is gonna be. You cannot predict this game.
You can't.
Just given what we've
You
seen,
can't.
what
Yeah.
we've seen in
Yeah.
the first leg,
You can't.
Basically, yeah.
the way the teams play, it's an unpredictable situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
All we're guaranteed is that we're gonna get a good
Good
90
game.
minutes of football.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys, I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Bottle Jobs. We will be back with new content on Champions League, Premier League, La Liga, and all the top leagues in Europe. And please do hit the like button and follow us for more.